What you should know before you date a guy who was born into a family who has a lot of wealth or money. Queen with Soft Eye Boutique, y'all know I'm here to drop the real to y'all, because this is something that I learned when I was in law school, and of course, as the more that I practice law. But thankfully, all praise is due to God. I learned very early on, and so I wasn't able to get caught up. So a lot of what we're seeing online is telling young black ladies and black women to go for a guy who comes from a family of wealth. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not a bad thing to tell y'all that, but it's not the truth in its totality. So, what the other races of women are being taught, those who family members put them up on game, just because what they're not telling you is just because he comes from a family of wealth does not mean that he himself is wealthy. Okay, so there's a thing called lineage, and depending on which state that you're in, if you're in 49 other states besides Louisiana, it's called probate. But if you're in Louisiana, it's called successions. So in a nutshell, that is basically the law of inheritance. What you're gonna get, what a child is gonna get when their parents pass away. And we know we live in a society, so usually the wealth is coming from the father. Okay, so say for instance you're dating a guy, comes from a family with wealth. His daddy got all this money and land, what they call old money. Okay, so obviously that means it has passed down from generation to generation. Sometimes, depending on the lineage he comes from, he'll have like a trust or a hedge fund or something like that. But for the most part, a lot of young black ladies not really coming in contact with guys at that level. So you are all those who are coming in contact with black men who or young black men who come from a family of money. The family usually has like a lot of land, so they may not necessarily really have trust funds or anything like that, but there's land, life insurance policies, things of that nature. He may have gone to private school, family pay for him a car, things of that nature. So what they're not telling you is that ain't his money, that's his daddy money. So he is not getting anything until his daddy dies. And if you have to wait until somebody pass away to get some money, you SOL. That is a big issue, especially if you're a male. Because I'm not a man, never been a man, never want to be a man, but men have told me this, who come from means, if a guy is waiting around to get an inheritance, he's essentially a sucker. So having an inheritance is not a bad thing, but for males, it is land yap. So I'm from Louisiana, that means extra. So an inheritance for a male is anything that's extra to what he has already acquired on his own outside of his daddy or his grandpa or his uncles giving that to him. And I really need you all to fully understand what I am saying. If you have any questions, definitely comment below, because I know y'all don't know how this go, and I've avoided so many situations with guys because, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, I went to law school, I know how this area of law goes, so you're not about to sit up in my face and basically string me along and say, yeah, when my daddy dies, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that, I'm gonna get that. I don't know when your daddy gonna die. I'm not about to sit around and wait for this man to pass away. And I've told plenty of people this. And of course, they blocking me and all of this stuff, blocking my phone number, blocking me on social media, which is fine. But you're not going to sit up in my face and tell me that. So, best example, I'm in Louisiana. Say, for instance, he comes from, let's say I'm trying to really break it down to be simple. Let's say he has like 8 siblings altogether, including him is 8 of them altogether. Have about like maybe 20 acres of land. and then there's a house on that land as well. Now, when the daddy passes away, that land has to be, now, let's just assuming that the mom has passed away as well, the wife has passed away, the daddy didn't remarry, and all the children are over the age of 18. So you just really have, because it can get so complicated. 20 acres of land and like a 5-bedroom house to split up between 8 people. Okay? One, they're going to end up fighting over that house because you can't split a house 8 ways. You can't do it. So all it actually takes is for one person. You can technically split 20 acres 8 ways, but if it's not like viable land, if it's like a whole bunch of trees and all this stuff on it, that can get really murky too. But even if that land is able to be split in 8 ways, all it's going to take is for one disgruntled sibling to say, I don't want my name connected to any of y'all. So I don't want to, y'all can have y'all portion. I just want the money from my share of these 20 acres in this house. So if that 20 acres, if they go in with a surveyor, because that's what happens, you have to get a land surveyor. And if that land surveyor comes back and tells the court, gives them the certified report, survey report saying, well, there's no way we can really break this 20 acres of land up into something that'll be fair and equitable among those 8, then the court is going to do what is called force a judicial sale, which means they're going to sell all those 20 acres and that house, because you can't split that house 8 ways unless it's like 8 rooms. And, if there was 8 rooms and 8 bathrooms, so everybody can have one of their own, or 8 floors, and you have one disgruntled sibling, and that sibling says, I don't want anything to do with y'all, I just want this money from this, everybody's going to lose everything. That is what happens, okay? That is how that goes. And even if it's not a situation like that, the more people, y'all, this is educate. I see exactly why they did not want girls and women to be educated. Because even if it's not a situation where you have a disgruntled sibling or more, say for instance, everybody's getting along, they were able to split everything. If that sibling, if one sibling dies and that sibling has 6 children, then that sibling's portion is going to be divided amongst those 6 children. And it goes like that. So it eventually gets to the point where it's going to be so many people attached to that land and that house to where it's not really going to be worth anything to anybody. And then people going to start fighting all over again. Like, that's how that goes. So if he doesn't have something specifically for him, if he's not getting this on his own, and as he has more children with you after he marries you, and for each child you all birth, he is buying them separate plots and acres of land and building separate homes, or doing separate things like that for him, it's just not gonna work out. Okay, so I had a guy. He had altogether, it was like 3 of them, I think, 3 siblings all together. He was living in his house that his family owned, because they had, like, in the parish that they live in, they had little acres and plots of land all over that parish. But y'all, all it would take is for one good hurricane to go through that parish. And that particular parish, they really don't get hit like that with hurricanes. But I was like, all it would take is for one good hurricane to finally hit that parish, and that house would be, just blew over. Okay, so like, that's how old and pretty much raggedy that house was. But he was holding on to that, and like, he decided he wanted to go off on me and was just like, this is my father's land, and what's my father's is mine, and I just told him, hold up. First of all, you need to understand who you're talking to. So I'm not sure what type of bimbos and country bumpkins that you're used to encountering, because it is a pretty rural parish that he lives in. I'm not really sure what type of bumpkins and bimbos that you're used to encountering, but you're talking to somebody. I just don't call myself queen for nothing, okay? So I'm partially pretty much self-made and self-educated. So for you to think that you can sit on this phone and tell me how this house that you're living in on this, I don't even think it was 1 acre, but I'm for the benefit of the doubt, I'm gonna say 1.5 acres. You're telling me that when your dad dies, that's gonna go to you. This is BS, and you know it's BS. And I'm not gonna let you run that game on me. It's 3 of y'all all together, and so for this particular portion of land in this house that you are, then once he passes away, then you and your 2 brothers' name is gonna be on this land. And your brothers have children, and you have a child. And when y'all pass, those children's names gonna be on that. So this is not yours. It's yours, and right now it's your daddy, because your daddy's still alive. But when your daddy passed away, it's you and your brothers. And because of that, this don't mean it's not yours. So you're not gonna get me. You're not gonna sell me on that, because I know how it goes with Negroes. Y'all gonna start arguing and fighting over this Matchbox house, you know. And I'm not about to even sit up there and play these games. So if you want to bring your daddy into this, maybe I should go deal with your daddy, because he the man with the money and the land. Okay, he's the one who got it right now. You don't have it right now. And the fact that you sit up there waiting for this man to pass away really shows who you are at your core. Instead of getting out and saying, yeah, my daddy worked hard for this. Yeah, this eventually going to come down to me, a portion of it through inheritance, but I still want to get my own as a man. Instead of saying that and having that inheritance that your daddy leaves you as extra, you're going to sit around waiting. No, this is not how this is going. This is not how this is going to go. So, yeah. So I mean, I can really school y'all on some things, y'all. Okay, because there was a point in time where I ain't know, and I almost got caught up with a guy like that, and I realized that, I mean, he with some chick now, and she's an attorney, and they pretty much living off of his daddy land, because his daddy the one who got all of it, you know. And so she went along with that foolishness, but I'm not. And yeah, and I'm here to share this with y'all. So don't, y'all, he's supposed to get his own. I don't care what type of wealthy family he came from and all of that. And I'm not telling y'all to like not deal with guys who don't come from wealthy families, but I want y'all to understand, just because his daddy has money, just because his grandpa had money, that don't mean that he have anything. And it don't even mean that he has the same drive as his grandpa and his daddy did. That's something that y'all really need to keep in mind. Like, if he not out there trying to get his own on top of what his daddy's giving him, your generation is, that bloodline is going to be wiped out, because it's going to eventually die. Like, I'm looking at so many of these NBA athletes and rappers and all this, getting all this land, you know, and I know it's not going to last for about 2 or 3 generations. So I would never even procreate with them. But you got, you know, silly black females who really think that they're getting some generational wealth, and they not. I know that stuff is going to be gone. Like, I'm talking to some of my homegirls who are attorneys, and I'm like, you see that? They're like, yeah, we see that. We not going to deal with such and such, because we know that's not going to last. You know, that's not a lineage that's going to last, you know, into infinity and perpetuity, which means forever. So just wanted to really put that on y'all mind so y'all can know, because they're not talking about these things on social media, you know, all this hypergamy foolishness and all of that. Y'all, it's just a bunch of hogwash, just a bunch of BS. So Queen with Soft Thigh Boutique.